So there's a character in D&D who may be the personification of evil. You may disagree, but
I do
Asmodeus.
disagree. Yes, I do. Oh, I do disagree. Asmodeus. Yeah. No, it's because so evil in D&D is a little bit complicated, but you can roughly think of evil as meaning self-interest to the degree of I will injure others to get what I want. And so when you say what is most evil in D&D, it kind of comes down to personal preference. Pick your poison, right?
Right.
Because you could say, let's take Asmodeus on one hand and say Orcus on the other. Who's more evil, right? Well, if you're the type of person who's like, look, I want dependability, well, at least if you make a contract with Asmodeus, he has to honor it.
That's true.
Orcus can just do whatever he wants. He's chaotic evil. He's the ultimate solipsist. Like, chaotic evil is just me. Now, someone else might argue, look, chaotic evil is predictable, more predictable than law. You can go back to the entire Chronicles of Amber thing of law and chaos, and while we call law one thing and chaos another, really they act very differently. There's this conceit in the book. You have the court of law and the court of chaos, and they're fighting, and one of the people from the side of chaos tells one of the guys from the side of law, is like, look, at the end of the day, you call us chaos, but law is all about trying to betray each other. You guys are always trying to screw each other over and find loopholes. Where chaos, we all know we're all just gonna do whatever we want, so we know not to trust each other. So who's actually less predictable, law or chaos? And so in some ways it's like, actually chaos is more predictable because you know they're gonna do something random, so you can get ready for that.
Right.
So when you talk about evil, when you break it down by law and chaos, you could say, well, again, pick your poison. Do you think, if you think you can outsmart Asmodeus, he's a pussycat. He's easy to deal with because you can use his laws against him and control him. If you don't think you can, or you just think I'm powerful, I can take on all comers, then you might want to deal with Orcus, because Orcus will just respect strength. At the end of the day, Orcus thinks that Orcus is the only actual, sentient entity in the cosmos. Everything else is just stuff he gets to play with. But if you can overpower him, he might just still think you're not actually fully sentient, only I am the center of the universe, but you could kill me and I don't want to die, because if I die, that ends the universe, because I am the center of the universe. So it depends on the path you want to take, right?
Right.
But I would say this, if we wanted to think about evil in terms of raw destructive potential, what would pose the biggest threat to the universe? Well, we're talking about Tharizdun. Tharizdun, this sort of mysterious entity first encountered in the world of Greyhawk, is, in 4th edition, he was called the Chained God. He first showed up in 1st edition as this bizarre entity who was so dangerous that his priesthood was hunted down and annihilated, that the worship of this entity was so baleful, to pull a good 1st edition word that Gary dropped in those books,
baleful,
right?
Yes.
Woe and wheel, right?
Yeah.
The good old-fashioned AD&D words. Because essentially Tharizdun sought maybe just to annihilate all of reality, though again, that might be something where that's just what we think we know. The idea of an entity that just wants to annihilate everything, that seems kind of short-sighted. Why would something want to just destroy the universe, presumably including itself? But if you were to say in terms of what is the most dangerous entity, if you were to give the celestial driving wheel, steering wheel to any entity, if you go to Asmodeus, you end up with this pretty brutally repressive order. You look at hell and it extends everywhere.
Right.
Doesn't sound like a lot of fun. But at least you could argue at least everyone has its place in the order. It's not a great thing. But if you gave it to Orcus, well, everything's undead, and now you're all his thralls. So they had to pick your poison. Which of those do you want? And if you give it to Tharizdun, you just, in theory, if the stories are true, the
just
legends,
annihilation.
Nothing, everything is destroyed. So that's kind of the fun part about evil in D&D. It's all bad.
It's all bad, but but you get a choice.
You get a choice, right? Because D&D is all about choice. Like a good role-playing game is all about, you get to make choices. You get to decide what you want to do.
I always like the idea of this old Irish myth, the stingy Jack myth. He tricked the devil, but because he tricked the devil, he ended up being stuck in the nether realm. Because once he died, he tricked the devil, so he tricked him into agreeing that he could never go to hell. But also, that meant because he made that deal, he couldn't go to heaven. So he ended up in the nether realm, and with nothing but a turnip, which he carved. And carving the turnip became the jack-o'-lantern. That's where the jack-o'-lantern myth comes from. And so my character Eberron is based on that, but I had to figure out a way, how do I trick Asmodeus, who has an incredible amount of intelligence.
He's incredibly smart.
who has to have so many rules before you sign that contract if he's trying to give you a wish.
Yep.
Well, how would you trick Asmodeus?
I wouldn't try because he's so much smarter than me. I wouldn't even try because I would try to go for one of his lieutenants. Because there's one thing you can always do. Asmodeus loves drama. He loves pitting his lieutenants against each other. There is like this old idea that if you're the emperor and you have all your ministers or all your satraps, whoever is managing your empire, if left to their own devices, they will all eventually turn against you because they all want power.
Right.
So one way to avoid that is to turn them against each other, right? That's exactly the game Asmodeus plays. Because if you think about each of the dukes of the 9, they all have a flaw.
Right.
Right? He wants very skilled and powerful lieutenants, but he doesn't want them to be too skillful. They get too good, they can be a threat.
Like many terrible managers.
Right.
they don't want to hire someone who's a threat.
Exactly. That's Asmodeus, right? So yeah, if you could give him the honor, he would take it. He'd take that wish and say thank you. Right?
So you're just telling me there's no way to trick that guy. That's just
it's
not going to happen.
There's no way to trick him, right?
Yeah.
It's just part of his deal. There's the old, I think it was a quote from World War II, right? A truth so important has to be protected by a bodyguard of lies, right?
Right.
That's Asmodeus. That's why he's locked away in Nessus. That's why he's so remote. That's why he's so hard to get to. The less you know about him, the harder it is for you to pull one over on him.
That's
right?
a good point, yeah.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist.
Right.
Right? He wants you to think that he's not a threat. He wants you to really have kind of listen to the myths that tell you what he's like because they're probably wrong or he's the one who spun them. Because above all else, the less you know about him, he knows information is power. I mean, that's why he sits down in Nessus and plots and wonders and watches.
Right.
He's got the other 8 lords of the 9 to do his bidding. He's very subtle. He's very cunning. He's very lawful. So he is predictable.
Right.
And so for him to get into that position, he had to be very cunning.
Yeah.
I think that if you were going to try to trick him, you would have to move him off like his sort of stance, right? Like he's grounded. You'd have to find something like if you could somehow delve back into his mortal life and find something there, like it would be a deep dive because who even knows what world he was as a mortal, who he was.
So if it was a primordial situation when he was a young devil, maybe.
Or even a mortal, right?
Yeah.
Whoever he was before he became, I mean, you might find something there.
So maybe not everything is lost because Eberron is actually from first edition.
Well,
so
right.
He's almost from like a primordial D&D.
I mean, Sigil, which I'm always sure I'm pronouncing wrong.
You are saying Sigil correctly, actually.
I always think I'm getting it wrong. It's the City of Doors. There might be a door somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Maybe guarded by someone in the employ of Asmodeus that would get you back to his. It's not only just doors through time, it's time and space.
Time and space.
So there might be some way to get back.
Maybe they're a more naive Asmodeus.
Naive, or maybe he has a weakness.
So he was originally immortal.
Oh yeah, almost all of them were.
Okay.
At some point or another.
Do we know how Asmodeus came to power?
No, he has been very, very careful about hiding that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, he does not want that getting out.
I am kind of charmed by the idea, like at one point, these devils weren't great at their jobs, right? Like they were just starting out doing their best.
Doing their best
to get as many souls
as
possible.
For a devil is doing pretty terrible things.
Doing their worst.
No, that's how all of them, it's interesting to look at the pattern of characters leveling up. And almost everything in the cosmos of D&D can in theory level up. Mm-hmm. If it has the ambition and the drive and the opportunity. Demons the same way. Orcus, the Abyssus didn't spring into existence and Orcus was there. They fought.
Right.
And they imposed reality on each other. That's what demons do. They impose their reality on you and on everything, because every demon will tell you, I'm the center of the universe. And it'd be a tragedy if I died, because the universe dies with me. Because I'm the only one who exists. I'm the only one who is actually here. And you can see it in the worship. Mortals who worship demons are essentially conceding to some of the demons' views of reality. I'll follow the patterns of reality that you think we should be following, or that you think reflect who you are, because I kind of want some of that power you're offering. But as soon as I can, I'm going to betray you. Which makes chaos, in some ways, more predictable than law, because chaos, chaotic evil, invariably leads to betrayal.
Well,
only one of us can be the strongest, eventually we'll fight for
it. It's almost like, the scene in Thor Ragnarok when Thor is talking to Loki. Like, eventually Thor realizes, you're always going to betray me.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's the myth pattern.
And that's almost lawful in its own like
Exactly.
predictability. Like I know you're
Exactly.
going to do this thing over and over and over again. So your brand of chaos is still order, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, you might think you're chaotic, but
Right. Like the Joker is very consistent. The Joker would be terrifying if he was good for like 3 years for no reason.
you know there's
Right?
some reason it's not going to end well.
Yeah. That would make me more on the guard.
yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting. So Asmodeus wants to not be known. He wants.
Oh, he would take it. I mean, he obviously is known. It's kind of hard to rule the 9 hells and stay anonymous. I mean, he does need to wield his name. I mean, if you are in the 9 hells and you're, speaking on behalf of Asmodeus, people have to listen. It's part of the law, the structure, the hierarchy. But if he could be anonymous, I think he would take it. He would see the long-term benefits of that. If he could work behind the scenes or put a puppet on the throne.
Is there anything evil is there anything he's trying to ultimately accomplish?
There are, but he swore me to secrecy. So I got to respect that. I can't just blab his secrets.
Just can't get it all. Yep. I can't get all the information. Because then players will break the game because they'll know too much.
They'll know what to do. Maybe he made the pact knowing you were going to break it, and he was counting on that. And he knew I couldn't just give you this thing because I'd be breaking the law. But if we sign a contract now, I can give it to you. And you've asked for something in return, which I'm happy to give you. You think you're getting one over on me, but I don't have that. Oh, sure, I'll let you wish that.
I baked that in as well. Like the character Eberron actually wished to never be forgotten, and then mind flayers came to his homeworld.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So, whoops.
Yeah.
I don't think you can ever win. I think that's the entire point. You shouldn't be really.
It's very difficult to win against the 9 hells. But it doesn't mean you can't, right? It just means
Make it into a T-shirt. It's very difficult. All right.
I mean, that's one of the things if you look at what's in Descent into Avernus. I mean, we're filming this in July of 2019.
Right.
But when you get a chance to play through that, definitely as players, revel in the heroism, make your choices, decide at the end how you want to resolve things. But keep in mind, no matter how shiny and happy that ending might seem, that might be what Asmodeus was planning all along.
Right.
That's the trick.
You can't see the 100-year, 1,000-year game.
1,000-year game is
You succeeding is maybe just another pawn.
another step.
Yeah. Your adventure is your entire campaign is like only one adventure for him.
That's why Mordenkainene would step in and say, you probably just shouldn't mess with it unless, just leave it to me.
That's going to bring me to our next topic.